The massive Galactic Empire scout ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its crystalline hull gleaming under the distant sunlight. Captain Vexnor stood on the bridge, his four eyes blinking in sequence as he studied the readings before him. Something was different about this system. Unusual energy signatures detected throughout the system. "Captain," reported his sensor officer, mandibles clicking with concern. "They appear to be artificial in nature." Vexnor had visited thousands of primitive worlds during his career. Each time, the story was the same. Primitive beings barely able to reach their own moons, easy pickings for the Empire. But this time, his instincts told him something was off. As they moved closer to the third planet, their sensors began picking up more anomalies. The space around Earth bristled with satellites, stations, and defense platforms. Ships moved with precision between planets, their energy signatures unlike anything in the Empire's database. "Sir, we're being hailed," announced the communications officer, in perfect galactic standard. Vexnor's upper eyes widened. Primitive species weren't supposed to know the Empire's language. He straightened his ceremonial armor and nodded. "Display." The holographic screen flickered to life, showing a human female in a crisp blue uniform adorned with gold markings. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, and her expression was calm but alert. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force," she said, her voice clear and confident. "You've entered protected space. Please identify yourself and state your purpose." Vexnor followed standard protocol. "I am Captain Vexnor of the Galactic Empire scout ship Eternal Victory. We come representing the mighty empire that rules 10,000 worlds. Prepare for inspection and classification." The human's expression didn't change, but something like amusement flickered in her eyes. "I see. Well, Captain, I should inform you that we've been watching your approach since you entered the Oort cloud. Your ship's defensive capabilities have been thoroughly analyzed, and we currently have 78 weapons locked on your position." Vexnor's lower jaw tightened. Their sensors hadn't detected any weapons. How was that possible? "I suggest," Admiral Chen continued, "that we handle this diplomatically. We'll send coordinates for a proper meeting. Our defense grid will guide your ship to the designated location." Before Vexnor could respond, his tactical officer called out in alarm. "Captain, multiple ships decloaking around us." Sleek vessels of human design appeared from seemingly nowhere, their hulls dark and angular. They moved with impossible precision, forming a perfect escort formation around the Empire ship. "Don't be alarmed," Admiral Chen said, noting the Empire crew's obvious surprise. "This is just standard procedure. We've learned to be careful over the centuries." As they were escorted toward Earth's orbital stations, Vexnor watched in growing unease as they passed massive shipyards constructing vessels of various sizes. Mining operations around the asteroid belt worked tirelessly, and he could see defensive installations that somehow blended seamlessly with space itself. The humans had not only mastered space travel, they had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. When they finally docked at the diplomatic station, High Commander Zextal arrived through a faster route to handle the first contact protocol. As he prepared to deliver the Empire's standard ultimatum of surrender or submission, Admiral Chen's expression turned serious. "Before your commander says what he came to say," she warned, "you should know something about humans." She paused, making eye contact with each Empire official. "We really hate being told what to do, so choose your next words carefully." The Empire officials exchanged glances, suddenly unsure about their standard procedure. For the first time in centuries, they faced a species that didn't seem impressed by their arrival. In fact, these humans seemed more amused than anything else, like they knew something the Empire didn't. They would soon find out exactly what that was. High Commander Zextal sat in the Earth's orbital conference room, his scaled fingers drumming on the polished table. The human delegation sat across from him, looking surprisingly relaxed for primitives about to receive the Empire's ultimatum. "The terms are simple," Zextal announced, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into human English. "Submit to Empire rule, and your species will be granted protected status. Resist, and we will be forced to demonstrate our power." Admiral Chen exchanged glances with her team before pressing a button on the table. The room darkened, and a holographic display flickered to life between them. "Before you continue," she said calmly, "let me show you something about humanity's history." Images began to play in the air. Ancient battles with swords and shields, tanks rolling across muddy fields, ships exploding in vast oceans, aircraft dropping devastating weapons on cities. The Empire delegation watched as centuries of human warfare unfolded before them. "This," Chen explained, pointing to a mushroom cloud rising over a city, "was just our beginning. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times before we learned better." Zextal waved his hand dismissively. "Every species has their conflicts. The Empire brings order to." "Computer," Chen interrupted, "show them the Mars Defense War." The hologram shifted to show a massive battle in space near the Red Planet. Human ships, badly outnumbered by alien vessels, executed impossible maneuvers. The aliens' superior technology meant nothing as the humans adapted, improvised, and turned the enemy's weapons against them. "This was 50 years ago," Chen explained. "Some pirates thought our colony would be an easy target. They didn't expect us to have QZ missiles or gravity bombs. We reversed engineered their tech from the wreckage and improved it." The Empire officials shifted uncomfortably in their seats as they watched the pirates' ships being torn apart by weapons they'd never seen before. "You see," Chen continued, standing up to walk around the table, "humans are different. We don't just fight wars. We learn from them. Every conflict makes us stronger. Every battle teaches us something new." She paused behind Zextal's chair. "And we've had thousands of years of practice." Another Empire official, Science Director Krell, spoke up. "Your species is young. We have ruled for millennia across 10,000 worlds." Chen smiled. "And in all that time, how many of those worlds fought back? Really fought back?" The silence that followed was telling. "Let me be clear," Chen said, returning to her seat. "We're not threatening you. We're warning you. If you force this conflict, you won't be fighting just another primitive species. You'll be fighting an entire civilization that turned warfare into an art form, then turned that art form into a science." The hologram changed again, showing Earth's defense networks, lunar bases, and the massive fleet hidden in the asteroid belt. Ships that could bend light around them, weapons that could tear holes in space itself, and defense systems that learned and adapted in real time. "We don't want war," Chen said softly. "We've had enough of it. That's why we're giving you this chance to turn around and leave. Because if you start this fight, we will finish it. And trust me, you won't like how we do that." Zextal stood up, his full height impressive even to the humans. "The Empire does not retreat. We will return with our full fleet." As the Empire delegation turned to leave, Chen called out one last time, "We'll be waiting. And while you're gathering your ships, ask yourself this. If we can do all this just to defend one solar system, what will we do when we're forced to expand?" The Empire officials left the station in silence, their usual confidence shaken. For the first time in their long history of conquest, they faced an enemy that wasn't afraid. An enemy that seemed almost eager to show them why fear was the appropriate response. The Empire's attack fleet emerged from hyperspace near Mars, thousands of warships filling the void with their crystalline hulls glowing against the starfield. Fleet Commander Zirak stood on his flagship's bridge, confident in his overwhelming force. The humans had been given their chance to surrender. Now they would learn their place. No immediate response from the human defenses, his tactical officer reported. Their colonies on Mars and Europa appear unguarded. Zirak smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Begin the assault. Take Mars first." The first wave of Empire ships descended toward the Red Planet. Their sensors showed the human colonies beneath transparent domes, seemingly defenseless. It looked almost too easy. It was. The surface of Mars suddenly came alive. Hidden doors in the red soil slid open, revealing launchers that fired swarms of tiny machines into space. Each one was no bigger than a human hand, but they moved with terrifying intelligence. "Sir," the tactical officer shouted, "the small objects. They're replicating." The tiny machines were breaking apart asteroids and using the raw materials to create copies of themselves. Within minutes, thousands had become millions. They swarmed around Empire ships like angry insects, cutting through their hulls with molecular blades. "Impossible," Zirak whispered as he watched his first wave of ships being dismantled piece by piece. "Fall back. Regroup." But the humans weren't done. The ice of Europa cracked open, revealing massive cannons hidden beneath the surface. They fired strange projectiles that passed right through Empire shields like they didn't exist. When the projectiles hit their targets, the ships simply vanished, leaving behind nothing but scattered atoms. "Sir, we're detecting more human ships," the sensor operator called out. "They're coming out of hidden space docks in the asteroids." Dark shapes emerged from what had appeared to be normal asteroids. Human warships, their hulls covered in stealth material that bent light around them, moved into attack formation. They were fewer in number than the Empire ships, but they moved with deadly precision. "Launch all fighters," Zarek ordered. "Show them real space combat." Empire fighters poured from their carrier ships by the thousands. They were the pride of the Empire's fleet, each pilot connected directly to their craft through neural links. No species had ever matched them in dogfights. The human response was not what anyone expected. Their ships released what looked like small black dots into space. The dots expanded into swirling vortexes that swallowed Empire fighters whole. Those that escaped the vortexes found themselves flying into their own crossfire. Their navigation systems corrupted by human AI that had hacked their neural networks. "Sir," the communications officer's voice shook, "we're receiving a transmission from the humans." Admiral Chen's face appeared on the main screen. She looked almost sad. "We tried to warn you. What you're seeing isn't even our main defense force. These are just our automated systems." Zirak snarled, "You dare." "Look behind you," Chen interrupted. The Empire fleet turned just in time to see Earth's actual warships arriving. They seemed to step out of nowhere, their quantum drives allowing them to ignore the normal rules of space travel. Each one was larger than anything the Empire had, bristling with weapons that shouldn't have been possible. "Last chance," Chen offered. "Retreat now, and we'll let you go. Stay, and we'll be forced to show you why we've spent centuries preparing for a fight we hoped would never come." Zirak looked at his tactical display. He had already lost a third of his fleet to what the humans called their automated defenses. His remaining ships were being torn apart by enemies he couldn't even see properly. And now Earth's main fleet had arrived. For the first time in his long career, Fleet Commander Zirak felt real fear. The humans hadn't been exaggerating. They hadn't been boasting. They had been holding back. The Emperor of the Galactic Empire sat on his crystal throne, his rage visible in the pulsing of his bioluminescent markings. The holographic reports floating around him showed the humiliating defeat of Fleet Commander Zirak's forces. Never in 10,000 years had any species dared to resist so effectively. "Deploy the planet killers," he commanded. "Show these humans the true power of the Empire." Across the galaxy, massive ships emerged from secret bases. Each carried a weapon designed to destroy entire worlds. They were the Empire's ultimate tools of fear, used only twice before in their long history. No civilization had ever survived their deployment. Admiral Chen received the intelligence reports in her command center on Luna Base. The massive underground facility was carved deep into the moon's rock, protected by layers of quantum shields. "They're bringing out their super weapons," her intelligence officer reported. "Massive energy signatures, unlike anything we've seen before." Chen smiled slightly. "Actually, we have seen them before. Show them what we prepared." On her command screen, she watched as hidden satellites around Earth's orbit activated. They had been placed there 50 years ago, built for this exact scenario. Humanity had never encountered planet-killing weapons, but they had imagined them, written about them in stories, and designed countermeasures for them. The Empire's planet killers arrived in Earth's solar system with great ceremony. Their massive forms blocked out the stars, each ship larger than a small moon. They began charging their main weapons, preparing to reduce Earth to cosmic dust. Now, Chen ordered. The human satellites fired strange beams of light at the planet killers. The beams seemed to do nothing at first, but then the Empire crews noticed something wrong. Their mighty weapons were aging hundreds of years every second, metal turning to rust before their eyes. Time dilation fields, Chen explained over an open channel to the Empire commanders. We figured anyone advanced enough to build planet killers would probably forget about defending against temporal attacks. You can't fire a weapon that's already crumbled to dust. But humanity wasn't finished. From the dark side of Mars, enormous cannons emerged. They fired what looked like small silver spheres toward the Empire fleet. "What are those?" the Empire commander demanded. "More of your time weapons." "No," Chen replied calmly. "Those are antimatter torpedoes. We thought about making them bigger, but that seemed wasteful. Those small ones should be just enough tow." She didn't finish her sentence. The torpedoes detonated, each one creating a miniature sun that consumed everything within its reach. Empire ships vanished by the dozens, their mighty shields useless against the fundamental annihilation of matter itself. In his distant throne room, the Emperor watched in disbelief as his planet killers, the most powerful weapons in known space, were reduced to drifting scrap by weapons that shouldn't have been possible. How? He demanded of his scientists. How did they know to build defenses against weapons they'd never seen? One brave scientist spoke up. "My Emperor, we've analyzed their cultural data. They have thousands of years of stories about space warfare. They imagined every possible way they could be attacked and built defenses against those scenarios. They didn't need to see our weapons. They had already dreamed them up in their fiction and prepared accordingly." The Emperor's throne room fell silent. They had attacked a species that had spent its entire history preparing for enemies exactly like them. Worse, these humans seemed to have technologies that the Empire had never even thought possible. For the first time, the Empire faced a terrifying question. What else had humanity prepared? The Empire's War Council gathered in their capital ship, their usual confidence replaced by growing concern. Reports from across the galaxy showed an enemy unlike any they had faced before. The humans weren't just defending. They were beginning to strike back. "They're not fighting like a normal species," General Kraz reported, his hologram flickering with interference. "Every time we adapt to one of their tactics, they switch to something completely different." A human fleet had just captured an Empire supply base by turning their own cargo containers into makeshift bombs. Before that, they had disabled an entire defense network by broadcasting old human entertainment signals into the Empire's communications systems, overwhelming them with thousands of years of recorded television shows. "Their ships are appearing everywhere," another commander added. "We can't predict where they'll strike next." On the bridge of the Earth ship Unexpected Solution, Captain Maya Rodriguez watched her crew prepare for their next mission. They had taken an old garbage scow, filled it with quantum processors, and turned it into a stealth carrier capable of launching attacks from what looked like empty space. "Status report," she ordered. "Empire ships still think we're space debris, Captain," her tactical officer replied with a grin. "They haven't figured out we're using their own sensor shadows to hide our fleet." The humans had discovered that Empire sensors had a tiny blind spot. A fraction of a second delay between scans. It wasn't much, but human AI systems had learned to predict these gaps and move entire ships through them, making their fleets practically invisible. Across the galaxy, other human captains were using similarly creative tactics. Some had turned their ships' engines into weapons, creating artificial gravity wells that crushed Empire vessels. Others used modified terraforming equipment to reshape asteroids into temporary bases, then abandoned them before the Empire could respond. In the Empire's throne room, the Emperor received more disturbing news. The humans weren't just winning battles, they were learning. Every defeated Empire ship was quickly stripped and studied. Human engineers were taking Empire technology and finding ways to use it that its creators had never imagined. "They've modified our standard shield generators," a science officer reported nervously. "Somehow they're using them to create weapons that break the laws of physics as we understand them." The Empire's subject species were watching too. They saw how the humans fought, not with overwhelming force, but with creativity and adaptation. More importantly, they saw how the mighty Empire struggled against this new enemy. Admiral Chen stood in Earth's Central Command, watching tactical displays showing human forces pushing deeper into Empire space. Their ships moved in strange patterns that looked chaotic, but were actually carefully planned to confuse Empire targeting systems. "The Empire still doesn't understand," she told her staff. "They think warfare is about having the biggest ships and the strongest weapons. They never learned what humanity figured out centuries ago. The most powerful weapon is the human mind." A junior officer rushed in with new intelligence. "Admiral, our deep space probes have located 3 more Empire factory worlds, and the local slave species are asking for our help." Chen smiled. This was what she had been waiting for. "Send them our new encryption protocols and the defense plans we prepared. It's time to show the galaxy that humanity knows how to do more than just fight." As her orders went out, hundreds of human ships emerged from their hidden positions. But they weren't attacking. They were moving to protect the worlds that had asked for help. The Empire was about to learn another human lesson. The best way to defeat an enemy is to turn them into friends. The real revolution was just beginning. The Zarkaks were the first to rise up. For 3,000 years, they had been the Empire's slave soldiers, forced to fight their battles. Now they watched through compound eyes as human ships arrived at their homeworld, not to conquer, but to teach. "Your people know how to fight," Admiral Chen told the Zarkaks leader. "Kovics, we're here to show you how to win." Across their world, human instructors shared not just weapons, but ideas. They taught the insectoid warriors about guerrilla tactics, about turning their natural ability to think as a hive into a military advantage. Within days, the Empire lost control of 3 Zarkaks worlds. The Empire's response was predictable. They sent their biggest fleet to crush the rebellion. But the Zarkaks were no longer fighting like Imperial soldiers. They had learned from humans how to be unpredictable. "Impossible," the Empire commander muttered as he watched his ships fall into carefully planned traps. The Zarkaks had turned their own hive tunnels into launch bases, their farmer casts silk into sensor-blocking shields. The news spread quickly. On thousands of worlds, enslaved species watched and learned. The Meridians, crystal beings who had been used as living computers, began corrupting Empire data networks. The Volks, a species of natural shapeshifters, stopped mimicking their masters and started infiltrating their command centers. In Earth's orbital command center, Admiral Chen met with representatives from 30 different species. Each had their own unique abilities, their own way of thinking. Humanity's gift wasn't teaching them to fight like humans. It was showing them how to fight like themselves. The Empire made a crucial mistake, Chen explained to the gathered aliens. They tried to make everyone fight their way. "We're going to win because we know that diversity isn't a weakness. It's the greatest strength any military can have." The Empire's rigid structure began cracking under the pressure of fighting dozens of different species, each using different tactics. Their standardized responses, perfect for controlling obedient slaves, failed completely against creative, motivated rebels. On the factory world of Nexus Prime, the machine-loving Quilks turned their production lines into weapons. Empire soldiers found their own automated systems turning against them, their vehicles transforming into traps. The Quilks had taken human ideas about mechanical warfare and improved them. "They're not just copying our tactics," a human military advisor reported to Chen. "They're innovating, creating their own ways of fighting. Every species that joins us makes our alliance stronger." The Empire tried to maintain control through fear, deploying their planet killers again. But now every rebel world had human-designed temporal shields. The mighty weapons that had kept the Empire in power for millennia were useless. A desperate Empire commander demanded answers from a captured human officer. "Why are you helping them? What do you gain from this chaos?" The human captain smiled. "We gain neighbors instead of servants, allies instead of slaves. The galaxy's too big and too strange for any one species to control it all." The revolution spread faster than even humanity had expected. Empire commanders found themselves facing not just human ingenuity, but the combined creativity of dozens of species. Each former slave race brought their own unique perspective to warfare, their own way of turning the Empire's strength against itself. In her command center, Admiral Chen watched the Empire's territory shrink day by day. But she wasn't celebrating the victories. She was already planning for peace, because humanity had learned long ago that winning a war was easy compared to winning the peace that followed. The real challenge wasn't defeating the Empire. It was building something better to replace. The Imperial Palace on Centrum Prime had stood for 10,000 years, its crystal spires touching the clouds. Now, its grand meeting hall hosted something unprecedented: a peace conference. Representatives from over 100 species sat together, former slaves beside their old masters, all watching as Admiral Chen approached the speaking platform. The Emperor himself sat in a simple chair, no longer on his towering throne. His once bright bioluminescent patterns were dim with exhaustion after months of losing a war he couldn't understand. "The Empire's time has ended," Chen began, her voice carrying through the hall. "But this isn't about revenge. It's about building something new." She activated a holographic display showing a new map of the galaxy. Gone were the imperial borders that had divided space into master and slave territories. Instead, it showed trading routes, cultural exchange points, and open borders. "Humanity could take control now," she continued. "We could rule the Empire's worlds. But that would make us no better than those we fought to remove." The gathered species murmured among themselves. Many had expected the humans to simply replace the Empire as the galaxy's rulers. Some had even hoped for it, thinking human leadership would be kinder than imperial control. Instead, Chen revealed humanity's real plan. A new Galactic Council would be formed, with every species having an equal vote. Even the Empire would have a seat, though only for their original homeworld. "But what stops another empire from rising?" asked Kovacs, the Zarkak's leader. "What prevents the strong from dominating the weak?" Chen smiled and pressed another button. The hologram changed to show a network of defense stations, early warning systems, and rapid response fleets. "Every member world will receive this technology," she explained. "The knowledge to defend themselves, to stand against any who would try to conquer them. Humanity will help maintain this network, but we won't control it. Each world will have their own access codes, their own sovereignty." The Emperor spoke for the first time since the meeting began. "And what guarantee do we have that humans won't use their power to control us all?" "Look around you," Chen replied, gesturing to the hall. "During this war, we could have kept our best weapons secret. Instead, we shared everything we knew. We taught others how to match us in battle, because humanity learned long ago that the best way to ensure peace is to make sure everyone has the power to defend it." She walked down from the platform, moving among the gathered representatives. "We're not offering to be your rulers or your protectors. We're offering to be your teachers, your trading partners, your allies. Because the galaxy is full of wonders we haven't imagined yet, and we'd rather explore them together than fight over them alone." Over the next hours, the details were worked out. The Galactic Council would meet regularly on neutral worlds. Trade would flow freely between systems. Knowledge and culture would be shared openly. and any species that tried to conquer another would face the combined response of all council members. As the meeting ended, a young Empire noble approached Chen. "I don't understand," he said. "You beat us by being better at war than anyone in history. Why give up that advantage?" Chen looked out at the stars through the palace's crystal walls. "Because humanity's greatest strength isn't our skill at warfare. It's our ability to imagine a better future and work to make it real. We warned you to run not because we wanted to fight, but because we knew that if you forced us to, we would change the galaxy. Now we're offering to change it again, this time through peace." The next day, as ships from 100 worlds departed Centrum Prime, they carried with them not just peace treaties but hope. The empire that had ruled through fear was replaced by something new. A federation built on mutual respect, shared knowledge, and the understanding that the strongest power in the galaxy wasn't weapons or ships or armies. It was